Anybody, anybody remember making monster models out there? Aurora monster models with Frankenstein and the Mummy, Dracula. They had all the best stuff. And I remember on snow days, every time. Now we had on a snow day, which we got all the time. Like I said, I mean, it was wonderful. Those were the days when you got 2 feet of snow. But it's nothing like it was when I was growing up. The snow would be up to my waist, or at least up to my knees, or more than that, into my thigh. I mean, it was deep and constant. It just seems to me that the snowball fights went on forever. Wintertime would last forever. And there was always, we never had mild winters. I don't know when that started. But we had the tough winters. We had the rough, tough, deep snow winters. And I know this because it stayed that way. I mean, I learned to drive in the snow and the ice. But oh man, we had an air raid siren in the middle of town, which when you're little you don't know it's an air raid siren, but that's what it was. And if it was a snow day at 6:45, that air raid siren would go off, and you would just, oh, yes, because you know any minute your mother's going to wake you up. You're sound asleep, and you know you have a choice. You went to bed the night before. It's either going to snow or it's not. You know, so you go to bed. Please, please God, snow, please. God bless mommy. God bless daddy. Please make it snow. Please make it snow. Instead of hearing, boys, time to get up, you'd hear, your heart would just soar. Oh, yes. And you would leap out of bed like you never would on a school day. On a school day, you would fight 100 Roman soldiers to just get back to sleep. But in the snow, that siren goes off, you're out of bed so fast, siren hadn't even finished warming up yet. You're out of bed, looking out the window at the snow. Just like a Peanuts cartoon, just beautiful out there. And Bobby and I would put on our snow stuff. We always had our snow stuff handy. The snow boots, the snow suit, the snow hat, everything. Gloves. We'd be done up like astronauts on Mars. Just completely, no air can touch you. So done up. You can't hardly move. You're walking like the Michelin tire man. But you're not cold. You can hardly move, but you're not cold. You're not cold. And we would stomp up Central Avenue, because Central Avenue went straight up and met Valley Road, turned into Valley Road, in other words, became Valley Road, kept going straight into Upper Montclair, where the shops were, where they had one store called the Bike and Hobby. And this old guy sold bicycles, and he also sold model kits. And Bobby and I would, before it was even 8 o'clock, we would depart. We'd be up, whatever they fed us. Your mother would try and throw Wheatina at you, or certainly not oatmeal, cream of wheat. Got to stay warm, have this. And so we'd have breakfast, we'd put on our snowsuits, and we would hike. And it really was another world. The wind howling, the snow blowing sideways, snow up to your knees, coming up to your thighs, and you're just flunk, flunk, flunk. It's like trekking to the Antarctic, climbing Mount Everest or something. And we would go, and it would take us, we would leave before 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd get there, and the store would already be open, so I don't know how long that is. Probably a couple of hours to trudge uptown, clinging tightly, to the change in our pockets so we can buy these monster models, because that's what we went to do, buy the monster models. Didn't matter if we already had Dracula. You always went and got the same one, because there was only like 5 of them. It was Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy. Now the Mummy was always a pain, because the Mummy had these little bandages that you had to glue on with Testor's glue. They didn't have super glue then. That's another thing. Well, first of all, let me finish this. We'd get uptown. You go into this little bike shop. You go into the Bike and Hobby, and it smelled like sawdust. And the jolly old guy would be there behind the thing. How you doing today, kids? Can I help you? And you'd go in, and the bicycles would all be on the right-hand side, and the models would be on the left-hand side. Just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. Yeah, they had cars, yeah, they had all that kind of stuff, but the monster models was what we wanted. And the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Phantom of the Opera, and they had all these monsters. But on the right-hand side in the display case, past the bicycles as you're walking in, they had the professionally done models. And some of them were the monster models, and they just looked so cool. These were done at the factory, you know, with airbrushes. I mean, just beautifully done. Just detail. Perfect. And they were. I mean, that's all the motivation you needed. Walk by, you see a perfectly done Dracula, or perfectly done, they had Hunchback of Notre Dame. They had everything. That's all you needed. You knew you were going there anyway, and then you saw this perfect stuff, and you know, I got to have this. But the big decision was, once you got there, which one am I going to get? Well, I've got 2 Draculas, a Frankenstein, 3 Wolfmans. But during the, you know, we didn't just build them and leave them there. We built them and played with them. So they were always wrecked. So you always had the inventory in your head. Which one is it going to be? Well, let's see. Frankenstein got broken last week, but I just finished building Frankenstein. Now, Dracula's still in good shape, although his left arm is gone. So maybe I'll do the Mummy this time, because I haven't done the Mummy since, but then, you know what, I don't want to mess with the bandages. So let's go with the Creature from the Black Lagoon. This is the kind of thing to be running through your head as you're looking. So we'd get our models, whichever one it was, and then we would buy the paint to go with it, because we were always running out of paint. Now, down in the basement of our house, we had, before I grew up a little bit, you know, like 5 years later, I tore the basement apart and redid it in my own image. But before that ever happened, it was an unfinished basement, and there was a little workroom where the furnace was, with a little workbench set up, and that's where Bobby and I would build our models. We'd sit on little kitchen stools and build our monster models on newspaper on the workbench in the basement by the furnace, in a little narrow room. So we'd grab the models and we'd grab the paint, and we'd get more Testors glue. Always need more glue. Then we would trudge home another hour or 2 hours. So we'd arrive home by lunchtime. But forget lunch, we're not interested in lunch. We would go straight down to the basement, down to that little workbench area. Now, I don't know if any of you people out there have spent an entire Saturday in a workspace about 6 feet long by 3 feet wide, next to a furnace, sniffing glue and lead paint all day. Well, that's what we did. Not only did you know, if we were lucky, Mom did not make breakfast and we just ate, you know, Cocoa Puffs with 3 pounds of sugar on it, then go down the basement and spend the rest of the day sniffing glue and Testors paints. So, and turpentine. We'd come out of there. We had no idea we were stoned off our little tails. We didn't know. God, about 10 years ago, these things came back. The monster models came back. I brought home a couple of boxes of these things. And they had messed them up, of course. They put Day-Glo heads on them, and the mold was bright pink or bright orange, or, you know, some horrible Day-Glo thing, and glow-in-the-dark heads, and just disgusting things. But it didn't matter, because you're going to paint over them. One thing I discovered, though, 10 years ago, was that you can build a model in an hour with super glue. When you're a kid, it takes forever, because, you know, if you glue Dracula's bat onto a branch, you gotta wait, you gotta blow on it, you gotta hold it in place until the Testors glue eventually dries, and then come back the next day. So you do it in, you know, you'd get the base units all done, you know, 3, 4 separate things sitting there drying. And the next chance you got, you know, which was usually the next day, you came down and finished it off. Put 2 more pieces together, and mine was always neat and tidy, but my brother would always get his, he would paint first and then glue, which is a huge mistake, because you get sticky paint all over everything. If you get the glue in the seams and you start painting it and some of the glue is still wet, you've got sticky red or black paint everywhere. Well, I knew better. I mean, I would always paint mine first. Always paint it first. Never glue it first. But again, when you're kids, when you're a little kid, this was the thrill. This was the big thrill on a snow day. You truck uptown, you get the monster models, because this is all you want to do in the world, is have everything to do with monsters. Even in the snowstorm, doesn't matter, monsters. And you build them up, and instead of keeping them on the stand where they're supposed to be, the stands had little slots in them for the feet. No, man, you take them out and, it would be Frankenstein against G.I. Joe. Or King Kong. They had King Kong and Godzilla models, too. That was a whole lot of fun. But I understand that in a few days we're going to get some snow. It's going to get dipped back down into the 30s, even into the 20s. And I couldn't be happier. As soon as it snows, I'm throwing on my snowsuit and trucking uptown, getting myself a monster model. I got to tell you this. We would go skating every once in a while, and we had a skating rink that everybody went to. Essex Skating Rink. Now, Essex Skating Rink was famous because this is where all the high school hockey teams played. This is where all the high school games. This was the big arena. But on a Tuesday night or something in the middle of winter, there was nothing happening, and every once in a while, not just one of us, but all of us would go skating. The whole neighborhood would go skating. I'm not sure why that was. I can smell the rubber on the floor of that place. Remember, when you go to a skating rink, you have the rubber floors so that you can walk across on your skates without, hurting anything. Remember turning in his shoes, getting his skates. Now, Bobby always had his own pair. I never had my own pair. I still don't know why that is. I skated as well as Bobby did. I have no idea. Well, that's all right. I had my own tennis racket, so there. But the whole town, the whole street would head towards Essex Skating Rink on 1 or 2 nights a week. Not really sure why. I think it was an excuse for the parents to get out and have some coffee, sit around and chat. But the kids all had hot chocolate with the little marshmallows hanging around. But there was one kid, I will never forget this. I don't know how I knew him. I guess he was a friend of my brother's. He was a couple of years older. But this was the funniest sight in the world. His name was Ward, okay? And he weighed about 1,000 pounds. Big blonde-headed kid. Just hugely fat. Now, Ward was a fun guy. He was a fun guy. He was a very funny guy. In fact, I knew his parents. That's how we knew him. We knew his parents. Anyway, he was a funny guy. Just crack you up. But he would get out on a skating rink. Everyone else is going around and so you can hear the organ music, and we'd be skating in one direction, turn, skate in the other direction. Then the grown-ups would come out and they'd get their skate, and the kids go back out and tear up the ice. Well, while all this is going on, Ward is going around the boards, hanging on, hand over hand over hand over hand over hand, round and round in circles, all night long. That's all he ever did. I don't even think he ever changed direction when everybody said change it. He just kept right on going. Funniest thing you ever saw. Little fat blonde-headed kid, about 1,000 pounds, just laughing at himself the whole time, but still just hanging on, going round, around, around, around. His mom and dad would come get him. Okay, Ward, let's go. That's enough. It's enough punishment. I think they brought him there to punish him. I'm not sure what for. Everyone else is just having a ball while Ward goes struggling around the boards. I just always remember that. See, when I close my eyes and I go back to my childhood, there's a billion things to say. And I got to tell you about the snow forts we used to build. Oh my God. We would actually make forts in the backyards. I'll tell you about that next time. We used to take ice, we used to take snow and a bucket of water and make ice bricks and build ourselves an actual fort made of bricks. Didn't matter if it was ice because it was 10 degrees outside. One time I built a snowman out, my brother and I built a snowman out back. We didn't just build a snowman, we built George Washington. And I think Mom came out at some point and put the finishing touches on his face, and we put a tri-corner hat on him, and damned if that was not George Washington. It was perfect, and there was a photograph taken of it. And now that I remember it, I got to find it. I think my mom has it somewhere. Me and Bobby, just little kids, made George Washington. It was beautiful. Anyway, I got to go. I'll see you. Bye. Next time.